Wesley Oler. I'm in the Lower Manhattan Historical Society and president of the Sons of the American Revolution chapter here in New York City. And with our co-sponsors, the Lower Manhattan Historical Society and the St. Andrew's Society, who's providing the bagpiper for us today. We're going to, as part of the tribute today, we will be raising our 13-star early American flag in honor of General McDougall, and then have a procession over to FRAUNCES Tavern Museum, where we will have a showing of his portrait from their collection.
I'm Jonathan Hinken, pipe major of the Mount Kisco Scottish Pipes and Drums, and we are the official band of the New York State St. Andrew's Society.
Scott McWhinney, I'm with the St. Andrew's Society of the State of New York. We're helping with the celebration today.
Good afternoon. I'm Ambrose Richardson, president of the Sons of the Revolution of the State of New York. We're here in FRAUNCES Tavern, Manhattan's oldest building and one of two pre-revolutionary structures still existing. And appropriately, we are here in one of the places where the Sons of Liberty met and planned and created the movement that led to American independence. In this tavern and other taverns in the area, one of the leaders of which was Alexander McDougall, who we are celebrating today. I'd like to introduce Wesley Oler, president of the Sons of the American Revolution, who is the master of ceremonies and the originator of this event, which we hope to continue in future years. Wes?
Yes, good evening, everyone. Thank you all for coming to our first ever tribute to Alexander McDougall here in this festive flag gallery of FRAUNCES Tavern Museum. I think before I go into a few remarks about General McDougall, I would like to introduce Jessica Baldwin Phillips, who is the executive director of the museum, in whose collection is this handsome portrait of General McDougall.
Well, FRAUNCES Tavern Museum is very pleased to have the McDougall portrait in the collection. It's been with the museum since 1911. It's one of our favorite pieces. It's an excellent portraiture of McDougall. And it doesn't always get to be displayed, but it's nice that we can display it today on the day you are celebrating the anniversary of his death. So thank you.
Thank you, Jessica. We also honored to have the participation today of the St. Andrew's Society of New York, which was founded in 1756, and General McDougall was one of its original members. And with us today to tell us a little bit more about the society and their early members is Scott McWhinney, St. Andrew's Society. Scott?
Pointed out, General McDougall, not only patriot and son of liberty, but one of the early members of the St. Andrew's Society, founded in 1756 in New York, one of the oldest charities in the country, fraternal and charitable. These days, back then we helped recent immigrants from Scotland get a footing in the new world. Today we provide scholarships to graduate students, Scottish American going to graduate school in Scotland and Scottish students coming to graduate school in the US. And we're happy to be here today celebrating one of our noteworthy members. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Scott. I just thought I'd give you a little background about my interest in General McDougall, Alexander McDougall. It started in about 1995 when a new Sons of the American Revolution chapter was created in New York City. And I was one of the founding members of that new chapter. And we had to find a name for that chapter, so we named it the First New York Continental Chapter of the Sons of the American Revolution. And our founder was Charlie Galbraith, and the reason he chose that name is because that was the first regiment of soldiers raised in New York City during the Revolutionary War. At the time, the colonel in charge, soon to be brigadier general in charge of that regiment, was Alexander McDougall, who was a very famous New Yorker in his day and who has been forgotten and mostly lost in the pages of history since then. I wasn't planning on going through much of Alexander McDougall's biography, but I will just give a summary. Alexander McDougall, forgotten hero of the American Revolution, Scottish native, leader of the New York Sons of Liberty, revolutionary pamphleteer, Major General in the U.S. Continental Army, and top lieutenant to General George Washington, member of the Continental Congress, member of the New York State Senate, and first president of the Bank of New York. A very notable and renowned early New Yorker who we're honored to pay tribute today. I also went on a little pilgrimage to find how could New York City have lost track of this early patriot and important person in the revolutionary cause in New York City. And they didn't completely forget about him. There's a 4-block long street in the West Village called McDougall Street, and that is named in honor of Alexander McDougall. I've also found out that there is a citation to a plaque at the First Presbyterian Church, which is in the village also, in honor of General McDougall. And here's your quiz question of the day. Here is a mural of Alexander McDougall with the date 1784. And I would ask if anybody in the audience knows where that mural is. This is one of the 7 ceiling-to-floor murals that's in the Museum of American Finance, which happens to be in the old headquarters of the Bank of New York at 48 Wall Street. And the reason that McDougall is in one of the murals is that he was the first president of the Bank of New York, which was set up by McDougall and his good chum Alexander Hamilton, who were the motive forces behind creating that bank. And McDougall was its first president. So this is the mural in honor of him, and beautiful to look at. I encourage you to go look in the museum and take a look and to see Alexander McDougall, who maybe hasn't been completely forgotten. Thank you all. I also have something to read that was contributed by Michael Newton, who is a historian and author of a book on Alexander Hamilton entitled Alexander Hamilton, The Formative Years, which is just recently, or is in the process of being published, I guess. And he had a few remarks to say about Alexander Hamilton and Alexander McDougall. And I quote from his letter. "It is with great pleasure that I share with you my thoughts regarding Alexander McDougall, a great American and unsung hero of the Revolution. As a biographer of Alexander Hamilton, I will focus my comment on McDougall's early recognition of Hamilton's greatness and his support of young Hamilton's career. Alexander McDougall had become an admirer and supporter of Alexander Hamilton and his political activities. On July 6, 1774, a great meeting in the fields was held in New York City to support a trade boycott against Britain. Alexander McDougall chaired this meeting, and it is said that Hamilton gave an eloquent speech that drew, quote, loud expressions of wonder and applause, unquote. Hamilton and McDougall struck up an acquaintance as Hamilton entered the political field. Hamilton borrowed pamphlets from McDougall, which he used to help him write his famed political essays. 2 months later, on February 23, 1776, Alexander McDougall recommended Mr. Alexander Hamilton for captain of a company of artillery. When Hamilton was officially appointed captain of this new company on March 14th, McDougall was put in charge of paying this company. Thus, Alexander McDougall was perhaps the first to recognize and promote Hamilton's military career. It was McDougall who recommended Hamilton for a captaincy of artillery, which led to Hamilton's later appointment as aide-de-camp to General Washington and to far greater achievement in both the military and political fields. McDougall foresaw that Hamilton could ably serve his country, both on the field of battle and in the political councils of the new nation. Before Washington, before Philip Schuyler, before most Americans had even heard of Hamilton, Alexander McDougall recognized Hamilton's future greatness and supported his career. The United States is indebted to Alexander McDougall not just for his great achievements, but also for his friendship and early support of Alexander Hamilton. Thank you, and with regards, Michael Newton.